Good evening from Planet Waves. Tonight's edition of StarCast is for Halloween, the 31st of October, 2024. My name is Eric Francis Coppolino, your friendly neighborhood astrologer, author of the Planet Waves horoscope, and host of Planet Waves FM on Pacifica Radio, here with the regular weekly edition of StarCast, accompanying the weekly horoscope, and I don't quite know what article. I may write something, though I am doing a lot of living one day at a time these days as I move through, so far so good, The Awakening, your 2025 annual readings, which now consist of a book, an ebook, not too long, not too short, called The Awa, and I am well into the Gemini reading with notes out to Cancer, and having a good time writing this thing. Before I get into the astrology, first of all, welcome. Thanks for joining me. And second, a few house announcements. I will have an edition of Planet Waves FM, or at least I'm planning to, for Friday evening, November 1st. Usually I'm a little bit ahead of the lunation. The show is on the new moon, full moon pattern now, not counting all the other interviews and stuff that I release to Substack, various things related to issues and viruses and blah, 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 that I'm not quite putting on the newer artsy version of Planet Waves FM, the more therapeutic version. But I will have the program, at least I am planning to, like I say, living one day at a time, but I'm unlikely to miss it for sometime Friday evening, maybe about 5 or 6 o'clock, New York time, a little bit after the Scorpio New Moon, Days of the Dead. Here we are on the eve of Samhain, All Hallows Eve, and various cross-culture celebrations of the merging of this world with the other world here in the time of the thin veil, where it is kind of spooky. And speaking of spooky and frightening, I realize we're approaching a very frightening presidential election. I don't like either of these candidates at all, and I am mostly focusing on the astrology of 2025 and seeing the blazing intensity of these aspects, including the conjunction of Chiron and Eris. I'll get into that in a moment. But as far as my election coverage is concerned, there will be. First of all, I have got coverage of Harris's chart, Trump's chart, the inauguration, and the election itself, and I will bundle those up into one omnibus mailing and send that out. Maybe I've already done that. I'm recording on Wednesday right now just to take one or two tasks off of the queue for Thursday. And then I'm planning a special edition StarCast for Monday night, wrapping up my election pre-coverage. Some afterthoughts on the charts of the candidates. I'll probably take a look at Vance's chart. If anybody knows Peter Thiel's birth time, let me know. Peter Thiel seems to be the manager or owner of Vance. I'm sure that his birthday is published, but who knows? I haven't gone looking for it. And then on Tuesday, we are planning a live cast edition of Planet Waves TV. I think I will begin that at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. It looks like we've got Daniel Giamario queued up as a guest. I'm going to ask Jeffrey Strahl to join us. We'll see if he can do a Zoom call, and any other potential guests. And my intent with a live cast is to keep you company while the election returns come in, and to give me something productive and creative to do on this harrowing night, where we find out who gets to be the first president sworn in with the Sun conjunct Pluto in the 10th house of the inauguration chart. Tremendous potential for the abuse of power and the abuse of digital AI power. This is a problem that most people do not know that we have. When you see something about a lawsuit about children becoming addicted to TikTok, that is really a flea on the elephant. The problem is that the concept of what a human being is has been completely transformed by digital AI, deep fake, and all of this kind of technology. And as far as I can see, the only way out is through. The only way to endure this massive campaign of delusion and deception and disembodiment is to stay completely awake at the switch and to not cut off. See, this is part of the problem with these technologies that greatly enhance the nervous system. For example, spreading the nervous system around the entire planet, which McLuhan says begins with Sputnik, a chart that I've got and would love to read sometime. But here I am sitting in my office, cozy little Planet Waves office in Kingston, New York. I'm all alone. Seem to be all alone in the whole building. And my voice is reaching you around the world. That's really quite incredible. It warps space, it warps time, and, does something that humans were not initially designed to do. But I guess we got these brains, and these brains kind of lead the way, but it would be nice if people use them a little bit more. And part of using your brain a little bit more means that you actually feel what's going on when you're in the digital realm, and that you emphasize creation rather than consumption. Part of the problem with the digital realm is that it is all about consumption. The consumption, or mostly, the consumption is also is an extension of the nervous system. This is the thing to understand. This is the way to understand these technologies. Right now, I'm speaking into a beautiful AudioVox microphone. What microphone? RE20, the classic broadcast microphone that is perfectly paired to my voice. I don't need any digital processing or anything like that, compression, nothing like this, but it's your ear. I treat this microphone like your ear because I understand that your central nervous system, through the internet, has been extended right into my room. And this is why I make my presentations the way that I do. I actually understand what is happening. But one of the other things that happens is when you extend your ear out to Fox News or to Madison Square Garden for a Trump rally and it's too much, the response is to cut off. The cutting off creates the sense of disconnect, of disembodiment, and of the digital haze. This kind of smoky environment where nothing is quite real or clear. All right, I've got two charts. So that's the preview of the election coverage. Remember, planning a special edition podcast Monday and then live coverage starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That will be mainly conveyed via Zoom. So I'm going to send out a Zoom link. This is a participation event that we are inviting the entire Planet Waves community to. Then we will stream it live to Facebook and to YouTube. But I don't want to use those platforms to interact. I'd rather keep it a little bit more closed circuit than that. Okay, now let's take a look at these two charts. This program will probably go a little bit longer than usual, given that I've just given a 9-minute and 35-second introduction. The charts I'm looking at are for the new moon, moon conjunct sun, the morning of November 1st, 2024, at 8:46:57 a.m. That's 8:47 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Clocks get turned back this weekend, so now it's going to be getting dark at lunchtime, at least in my life. But the new moon takes place in Eastern Daylight Time. It's not that long after sunrise. The chart contains Scorpio rising and a lot of interesting aspects involving the rulers of Scorpio, Mars and Pluto. Now, in my preamble, I forgot to mention that I just finished Astrology Studio for Scorpio, and I just spent a lot of time and energy invested in understanding this aspect setup, which includes Mars and Mars retrograde. Here's what's going on. So Mars is moving very slowly through Cancer. And it is queuing up for Mars retrograde that begins in just over 1 month. I believe that retrograde is on the 6th of December. It's hard to memorize all these dates. I wish I could, but there's a lot swimming around. And if you want to ever come to my office and help me sort out the astrology charts, you're invited. Send me an email. I'll take you out to lunch, and then we will spend the afternoon tidying up this massive collection of charts that I have and love. Okay, so while it is on the way to stationing retrograde, Mars is moving through the very last degrees of Cancer, and it happens that on Friday, at the time of the new moon, it has just entered the last degree of Cancer, 2904, at the time of the new moon. And it is exactly opposite Pluto at 2945. And so Mars will spend the weekend. And in fact, I mean, if we look right now, let's get the current chart up. Mars is at 2829 of Cancer. So it is just shy of 1 degree out of opposition. So Mars is opposite Pluto right now. And this is the first of 3 iterations of Mars opposite Pluto. Once Pluto changes signs, Mars will make an opposition retrograde. Let's see what day that happens. I've got to just set the program for this aspect. Mars opposite Pluto, still working on Io edition, which went out of business in 2019. Then the next one is, the first is 11/3. The next is January 3, 25. And then finally, April 26, 2025. So the retrograde pass of, the direct pass of Mars and Pluto in the very last degrees. This is the freaky part. This is the thing that makes it so interesting and so edgy. These planets are on the edge, and this is really the last thing that is happening to Pluto while it is in Capricorn, and it is a big thing to be happening. Pluto enters Aquarius, I think, on the 17th, where it will be through 2024. Is we have these 2 planets associated with Scorpio opposite one another. And that's very Plutonian and Marsy, but it's 2 concepts of Scorpio opposing one another, facing off. That's got a feeling of a power struggle, of a confrontation of some kind. And there are going to be 2 more iterations of this opposition, but again, they are with the planets in the next signs, respectively. Mars in Leo, Pluto in Aquarius. So this is a version of the opposition worth considering. And caught in kind of a crosshairs is Juno. Juno is at 2922 Libra, square Mars and square Pluto, and also square Orius. Is this the which centaur is this? I'm not going to go dig this up. There's a centaur right exactly conjunct Pluto, and I have it. I am pretty sure that it is Orius. I have the name written in wrong. It's better that I did it before scanning. All right, so what is this about? I mean, this is confrontational quality to this opposition. And right in the middle of that confrontational quality is little Miss Juno, rather Mrs. Juno, this kind of self-righteous bitch who is an extension of Hera. And I am not exaggerating. This is not a misogynistic concept. People were terrified of Hera, Jupiter's wife, on Mount Olympus. Ixion wasn't scared of her. Ixion thought, hey, first king of the Lapiths. King of the Lapiths committed murder, taken to Olympus to rehabilitate himself. It was Hera that Ixion said, hey, while I'm up here on Mount Olympus, why don't I rape Hera? Now, this gives you a concept of how fucking stupid Ixion is. We're not talking about Ixion at the moment. We'll come back around to it. That's part of the family Hunger Games cluster. Anyway, Hera is taking squares from Mars and Pluto simultaneously in the last degree of Libra. Earlier in my career as a writer, I wrote a lot about rethinking this whole business of how we do relationships. Some of you may remember the phase when I was teaching at polyamory conferences and writing a lot of articles about things like jealousy and how to be more open and honest in relationships. And of course, these articles freak out plenty of people because no one likes material like that if they make their living lying to their partner. But this aspect is saying that our concept of the monogamous relationship has got to transform. First of all, it's not usually monogamous. It is occasionally, but not usually. And it's not usually emotionally monogamous. That's a term from the swing community, right, where you're only supposed to fuck and you're not supposed to get emotionally involved with the people of the party that you meet every Friday or Saturday night. That's emotional monogamy. Another completely laughable concept. Although swingers at least experiment with their sexual friendships, the thing in the pinch is Juno. The thing about Juno that is in the pinch is this factor of resentment and this factor of the bone of contention, which are qualities that certain people not only have, but really emphasize, like it is their God-given right to be resentful. And this causes a lot of pain. People hold on to resentments for decades. They're hurt in ways that you don't understand. They are hurt. Someone hung up the phone on me today, who I've known for probably 20 years, and basically called me a bad neighbor in the astrology community. And I said, I really don't know what you're talking about. I do my best to be a good neighbor, and fucking hung up the phone. Well, I'm hearing the voice of my therapist and Hakomi therapy teacher, Dave, out in Seattle, saying, you got to learn how to not take things personally. But I was getting those chilly vibes in other phone calls in prior years. What's going on? Well, when you just hang up on somebody who hasn't offended you, who's being polite, of whom you have some concept that you have not ever conveyed to them, why did you do that to me? You did that to me in 1976 or something. That's self-righteous. That is resentment, and it is not helpful. Resentment, by the way, very closely related to guilt. Guilt is resentment turned on itself. It is resentment that wants to be projected outward. Where you're saying, I resent you for doing that. That's a factual statement. But instead, one cannot say that. We learn this from our parents because you can't really mess with your parents. So the resentment is turned inward, and that is guilt. And it's why guilt has this barb to it that will not come out of your flesh until you cut your flesh or work it out some way. or dissolve it. So I have been seeing this. I'm finally talking about it. I've been seeing this since maybe like May or June. This stress on what I prefer to call dyadic partnerships, pair partnerships. Dyadic implies that there can be other relationships around the dyad, but it does not get into this red herring of monogamy. What the hell is that? I think monogamy is when you are your own lover and you don't have any lovers. That's my new definition of monogamy. And bigamy is when you have a partner, and then I don't know. I mean, and then well, we could make up a lot of fun things there. So anyway, that is Juno in this intense crosshairs. Now, speaking of Mars retrograde, Mars is going to move out to, let's see, stations, April 20th. No. We want this to be soon. Mars is going to, on the 6th, when Mars goes retrograde, Mars is at 610. 06, Leo, 10. And there is a point right there at 4.5 degrees called Vulcanus. That's one of these mysterious points without a body. And by the way, I've been saying, like, I don't know where these came from. They're called the Uranian points, Trans-Neptunian points, the Witt points, the Hamburg School of Astrology points. And they're created about 110 years ago. I heard today from one of the leading authorities on these points, nobody knows how Witt made the ephemeris. But anyway, Vulcanus is right there when Mars stations retrograde. So Mars is going to be making a weeks-long conjunction to Vulcanus in December. Basically, the whole first 2 weeks of December. That is a lot of mojo. It's one of these things where the energy can just start to come out, and it seems like it will never, ever stop. So beware of this. Pay attention and work out your differences with people before they fester anymore. I realize that a lot of people seem to lay down ultimatums, but often those are in someone's mind and not in reality. An ultimatum is actually an honest form of communication. Fritz Perls said the most honest communication. If you don't do this, I'm going to do that. I realize it's a threat, that there's intimidation involved and all of that, but at least it's an honest transaction. What happens more so is that the transaction is not spoken. It is usually contained in withholds. And people go on with their lives with these withholds. They wonder where the love and passion have gone. They wonder where the need to cooperate, the passion to cooperate has gone, and wonder why everything is kind of like cold shouldery. Well, that's what withholds do. And so I'm suggesting here that before Mars gets mixed up with this point Vulcanus, and a lot of Mars energy is released still in an ongoing opposition to Pluto, which ramps up the energy, clear the air. Start the process of clearing the air. And if you're in a situation where you can't clear the air, or where you know someone is not interested in doing so, you got to ask yourself, question, am I in the right place here? That's different than what am I going to do about it if I figure out that I'm not in the right place. Though I have to say that this Mars square Juno square Pluto describes a lot of the explosive and or legalistic situation we seem to be backed into the corner of here in now approaching the mid-21st century, where not only are we in many situations where it seems impossible to be honest, but where anyone can say anything and create legal consequences, generally for men, and that's it. There's nothing to it. Law enforcement is trapped in things it has to do. The judges are trapped. Their discretion is gone. Things happen. Consequences ensue where there is no adjudication, where things are done ex parte with only one side. This is the charge of explosives that we are sitting on. It has nothing to do with love, and it is entirely about politicized relationships, politicized emotions, politicized parent relationships to children. The words family court make me grieve just seeing it. Family court used to be around the corner from my office and apartment, and I'm so happy it's now a wellness spa. They moved the court to another building, but at least I don't have to walk past it and be reminded of its existence. But it is just this agonizing concept. And so I know I'm stretching this point out a bit, but what I'm saying is that there is pressure on dyadic pair-bonded relationships that needs to be released gently and not in an explosive blow-up like is potential with Mars conjunct Vulcanus opposite Pluto. All right, a couple of more things here. I'm running a little bit over, not too much. Just looking at the new moon chart, in both of these charts, there's something interesting extra going on. We can perhaps conclude on that note, and I will include the article about Algira that I dug up from 2021. I've got usually one article covering each of these minor planets that I use. And there is one about Algira where my friend in Australia, who actually had a very good handle on certain facts of Aboriginal culture, he's a white guy, but he has spent a lot of time with Aborigines and made it his business to learn this. And he doesn't use the word Australia. He says Terra Australis. Interesting fact. Jupiter at 2027 of Gemini is exactly conjunct Algira at 20 and change of Gemini. So the two are lined up. Algira is the meeting of the land, the dream time, and the ancestors. Under the principle of Algira, they are basically the same thing. They are accessed together. They carry similar influences. They're one idea, that the land holds the ancestors and that the access to the land, the true spirit of the land and the ancestors is through the dream portal. Algira is the dream portal. It is conjunct Jupiter. So there is, while we are in this moment of the thin veil, while we are approaching the night between the worlds, that's what Halloween really is. It's the ending of one year, the beginning of another year. It is in neither year. Halloween night from sundown to sunrise. It's a nice long night, right? I really quite like Halloween night. Is the night between the worlds. And while we are entering the night between the worlds, Jupiter and Algira are in a conjunction, magnifying, opening, pointing to, with a visible symbol in the sky. In fact, you can see Jupiter pretty much all night long, right up until sunrise. It seems to rise soon after sunset. The portal is open, and we are going to need to know how to use this. I think that one of the worst things about the digital realm is that it is disconnecting us from the environment of the land and taking us out of contact with the real dream time and putting us into relationship with this synthetic, artificial dream time known as digital. And not everyone is interested in bringing in a sincere vibe into the this kind of like electric dream time of the digital realm, but the physical dream time connected to the earth is right there. It is open and it is available. All right, that is what I've got for you for this Thursday night. Recording at 6:45 p.m. on Wednesday night. Usually I do this podcast right before we send it out, but my intuition said, nope, get ahead on Thursday. You don't know what Thursday is going to bring, and I really want to finish Gemini. And that's it. I will look for you on Monday night via a special edition of StarCast. The announcements go out by Substack. If you happen to be listening, you're not on the Planet Waves Substack, go to planetwaves.eu. That's the shortcut to the Planet Waves Substack, or planetwaves.substack.com. But planetwaves.eu is a redirect. It'll take you right to it. Get on that list. That's where all the announcements for Planet Waves go out. There's another one, planetwaves.org. That's Chiron Return nonprofit Substack. Good to be on those lists. They're slightly different content streams, different organizational structures responsible for the content. And I'll see you again on Monday night. And if you're looking for something to do on Tuesday, starting at 8 Eastern, and you want to hang out, look for that email, and also we'll put an announcement right on the front page at planetwaves.net. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your business. Thank you. So many of you are converting to paid subscriptions. It is absolutely wonderful to see this and to feel the appreciation of these people who are saying, I value your work. Here's $14. I know you need to eat and pay a lot of people and pay the electric bill and all of this stuff. So thank you. Truly. Lots of love. And bye for now.